Ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo. Am trying tonight. See if we can have a bit better luck with some things, shall we? Alright, so similar to the variant we tried the other night with Aspiring Spikes Pile, I worked on it a little bit off camera. I still have like a backlog of probably, oh crapola. So you have a 4-color turns league, 2 or 3 burn leagues with regular burn, 1 with just Darcy, 2 leagues with Tron, 2 leagues with Mill, couple of leagues with a variant of this burn deck, and then a league with Murktide, Blue-Red Murktide. I was finally able to borrow the actual deck for once. Just so happened that I was able to hit that sweet spot where I was able to borrow it on Traders last night. So, a lot of backlog of stuff I got to get recorded and such, but wanted to circle back on tonight's live stream to some more variant of Spikes Burn. I was using Ragavan, Darcy, Mishra's Bobble. Are these changes worth it compared to regular Boros Burn, as regular Boros Burn continues to put up some amount of results? You know, starting to come back into the meta, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing that, you know, the deck's doing well again. Bad thing that, you know, when the deck starts popping up, people start having answers to the deck. So, you know, there are downsides to Boros Burn doing well in challenges and such, and that is that people start to respect the deck again, and, you know, that's not necessarily a good thing for a deck that's hold on the meta is as tenuous as it is. Main deck, don't really have a whole lot of comments about it. As far as Ragavan and Darcy, you know, as opposed to your regular Goblin Guide. What's up, Russell Fawn? How are you? Or Russell Allen, sorry. One thing I will note is the deck is a little bit more vulnerable to removal than it has been in the past. We actually care somewhat about Renin 6. You know, being able to ping both of our threats, especially when Ragavan doesn't have whatchamacallit. You know, it does affect us. It's not 14 lands, it's 18. 18 lands, good sir. 18 lands. And even that's a bit questionable. But, long story short, you know, we are a little bit more vulnerable to removal than we have been, because Goblin Guide, you know, generally gets in for a point or two of damage, or a shot or two, whereas these guys, unless you're dashing Ragavan, these guys have to sit and turn for a turn before they do kind of the whole Wild Nacatl problem, without necessarily having to skew your mana base and taking the extra damage. And we are, obviously, people bring in Graveyard Hate against us, which is kind of whatever. I actually had an opponent lose a game because they brought in Tormod's Crypt and then proceeded to kill my Dragon Rage Chandler anyway. It's kind of like, is Tormod's Crypt really worth it against just Luris and Darcy? I think the big advantage of Darcy, obviously, is being able to filter through draws. So, you know, you have to weigh that, whether that's worth the immediate possible damage of Goblin Guide and card disadvantage versus the ability to filter your draws with spells. So far, it seemed okay. Ragavan, just a powerful card. Sometimes it wins games on its own. Sometimes it's just a big womp-womp. You know. Rest of the deck, nothing too special other than no Skullcrack effects, no Skewer the Critics. We are running a 3 Eidolon in the main, 4th one on the board. Been kind of whatever on that. As far as Spike's version, I understand the point of the Chalices, which was mainly the Cascade decks, but I honestly think that's just kind of a pipe dream anyway. I think that's just a rough matchup. I don't think necessarily devoting 2 or 3 sideboard cards really fixes that particular problem. Rather have something like Prismatic Ending or Path to Exile, just to have flexibility to answer things like Core Firewalker or Sanctifier, you know, all the different stuff that shows up and actually stops our deck cold. Vortex, a lot of you have been asking me to go back to having Vortex in the deck. I'm still not a huge fan of the card. You know, I admit there are some matchups where it's nice. Force Mass to Smithereens, not enough. But I think it's all our sideboard can afford to devote to artifact decks. In the leagues that I played, yeah, it would be. The thing is, you have to pick, the thing with the meta right now is you have to pick what decks you're trying to beat. And, you know, there are a ton of decks in the format where Path to Exile is pathetic. I have not seen an Arboreal Grazer cast on me in probably the last, I would say at least the last 150 matches. I have not seen a Primeval Titan or Arboreal Grazer cast against me. Just haven't. Not really a relevant thing. And Burns already got a pretty decent mill matchup anyway. So I don't know that it's really worth it, but it's something we could explore in the future, potentially. I've seen, like, I saw Cedric Phillips was streaming with a version of Titan Breach tonight. X-Whale the other day was playing it when I was playing Mill, and he just got dumpster stomped. As far as the sideboard, I haven't been a huge fan of Deflecting Palm, but recently it's bailed me out of a lot of spots. I will say this, that I feel that Burns' position in the meta is very tenuous. I think we're good against all these mid-range Darcy piles. We at least have game. We're decent against the Murktide decks. We're decent against these 4-color control bullshit piles. But the artifact decks are a nightmare. Whether it's Hammer Time, whether it's the various affinity builds, they get out of hand way too quickly. And they all come packing basically 8 to 9 copies of Shadow Spear because of Stoneforge Mystic or Urza's Saga and it becomes a nightmare. I literally won one game off the back of Deflecting Palm, but my matchup against there are different 4-color Yorion piles. I don't know that any of them are particularly fantastic right now. The meta is really well balanced for everything that's going on. Like, because everything is so far, like, bouncing around, it honestly feels like almost everything is playable again if you understand that you're going to lose to certain things. Like with Burn, you're just going to lose to the artifact decks. It's a place we're at. 3 lands is a bit much, but we'll keep it. Question is, what card am I leading on here? Like, Tron's playable right now. Burn's playable right now. I don't think they're good, but they're playable. Like, Tron's playable because Burn and Prowess. So I'm guessing either Tron or I guess we lead on Ragavan here. Could lead on Darcy. It's really kind of hard to say which one we lead on. Yeah, Tron. Okay. So this is typically a good matchup for Burn, but the problem is the more creature-heavy draws are actually a little bit worse if we don't hit a ton of spells. Yeah, like I'm keeping basically every spell I find. It's almost worth playing, ironically. I don't think we will, though. We have more than enough lands going on. Upkeep. See what they're drawing. They're drawing another mine, which is kind of whatever to them. Okay, so they're going to turn 3 Tron. Just depends a lot on what their payoff is. Depends on what we draw over the next couple of draw steps, honestly. Yeah, like, all these lands, not ideal. And I just played the wrong land, like an idiot. Need to play some big canyon there. Tower. We have Worm Coil, we could be in some trouble. Walking Ballista could also be a problem. And you tapped a lot of mana. I'm not sure what your... Okay, yeah, that's like the least scary of their things. I think you take out Darcy here, right? They disagree. They think Ragavan's scarier. Okay. So, put that to the bottom. Do the thing. Well, they're just dead regardless, so... Even though we bricked terribly, we still managed to win game number 1. Deflecting Palms could be a consideration. Smash to Smithereens could be a consideration. Roiling Vortex could be a consideration. Searing Blazes go out. Eidolons on the draw are usually pretty bad. Vortex is questionable because they usually bring in any Nature's Claims or Wilts or anything. Most of the Tron builds have been very standardized around whatever Princep has been playing. And it's usually like 4 Little Karn, 4 Big Karn, a couple of Thragtusks, a couple of Worm Coil engines, some number of Ulamogs. This is why, one of the things where, like, so... Actually take out... Do I take out a Ragavan on the draw? What am I taking out here? Feels like we have way too many 2-drops here. I guess a Lightning Helix. Just for mana efficiency's sake. I'm not a huge fan of Ragavan on the draw against a deck like Tron, once again, because it doesn't have haste. Well, yeah, we brought in all 4 smashes. I mean, that's just kind of a given, but the problem is Smash is oftentimes too slow on the draw. And one of the downsides of not having Path in our sideboard is, you know, Worm Coil Engine becomes a real problem because of the back half of Worm Coil is also a pain in the butt. You know, even if you blow up the first one, you're still dealing with a lifelink token. And 3/3 is Stonewall, pretty much Stonewall what we do. Wow, this hand's a mess. I think we keep it, but it is debatable. Probably lead on Ragavan because we're a little bit shy on mana. Well, oftentimes we won't be able to kill map on the draw. So, it's not quite good there. Because usually they're able to crack map on the draw. Gotta lead on Ragavan here. Hope they don't have Warping Whale or Dismember. Alright, looks like we're getting Troned on 3. Yep. Well... Find a power plant. And we just hold up Bolt here and pass. Use Bolt to scry. Especially if they play Little Karn, it gets a little bit awkward for us. Looks like they might just have Wormcoil anyway. Or Thragdad. Thragdad would be annoying, obviously. Not much we can do about it. This definitely feels like a Thragtusk. Gonna go get Blast Zone? Feels like a Blast Zone, yeah. Relic of Progenitus, sure. Gotta put Swift Spear in the graveyard. Hopefully we blind draw land here. Well, I can't really play anything out into that Blast Zone, unfortunately. I guess I could have played Lava Spike there, and if we hit a land or a creature, we could have turned on Darcy. Expedition map. Okay. Opponent brought in Wilt. Okay. What's up, Arturo? How you doing tonight? Cycling Wilt again. Opponent going a little heavy on the anti-Eidolon tech, especially considering Eidolon's not even good in this matchup. Okay. If we draw another land, we could be in business here. And we don't. Alright, well. Our opponent ever Karns us, where either Karn is bad news here. On the play, it's definitely defensible. I don't know that it's better or worse than... Yeah, we're just dead. Opponent gets Trinisphere, and then we're pretty much dead from there. Opponent goes and gets Chalice. Wow. Wrong card. Yeah. Ouch. Yeah, I remember final exam time. That gets rather scary. So, I know a lot of players talk about how Burn and Tron are easy decks, and to a certain degree, I mean, they are easy decks to pilot normally. But for instance, I don't know what was in my opponent's board for sure, but Chalice on 1 was not the correct grab. The correct grab, if they have it, is Trinisphere. Because Trinisphere means I have to draw 2 lands to cast any more spells. And then as long as you can find some way to neutralize Monastery Swiftspear, you win the game. You know, or Chalice on 2. You know, opponent was playing around the ideal play that I only had 1-drops in hand, or whatever. But you need to understand your odds. Like, I lost a game against Hammer Time because of mana efficiency. My opponent set up a kill, and while I could not have stopped the kill, I could have killed them if I'd cast the more mana efficient spell when I was playing to be too cute and try to blow them out. I won't get into it because it'll be on a video that... Yeah, he may not have. I mean, I'm not arguing that point. Just saying, if he didn't... But Trinisphere is more common in Wishboards than Chalice is. This hand is questionable against a fellow Lurrus deck. So if Ragavan dies and we don't draw a land, we're in a lot of trouble. The upside of this hand in most Lurrus matchups is pretty good, unless we're up against one of the more disruptive versions. So I'm going to try it, but this hand is risky because of this particular interaction right here. So it looks like Ragavan's dying. Yep, this is what I was talking about. This hand was a bit risky against the more controlling versions of Lurrus decks. Looks like we're up against a Grixis variant. Don't know if we're up against Shadow, if we're just up against like control-ish Grixis. Interesting. Yeah, opponent's just killing our creatures. Hopefully we rip a land. Nice. A little bit painful, but let's take the opportunity to get their Darcy off the board. Opponent's going to 9. We have 9 points of burn in hand. Presumably they have to take Boros Charm. They might take one of the Lava Spikes to blow up our mana curve. I think the correct take is Boros Charm. Sure. Land? Now, I know our opponent could dash another Ragavan next turn, but I'm just going to go ahead and Searing Blaze this now. That way I don't have to play around any like main board Drown in the Locks or any Spell Pierce nonsense. Okay, Expressive Iteration, sure. Opponent's probably looking for land plus discard spell. And looks like they didn't find it, so... Alright, so... Our opponent's in the Lurrus deck, so we're probably up against Ragavan, Darcy, Snapcaster Mage is the most likely creature contingent, with an outside shot of there being Death Shadows in the list. Prismatic Ending seems fine. Deflecting Palm might be okay. Eidolon might be okay. Vortex, debatable. Core Firewalker. They might have black removal, so I don't know. Firewalker is also debatable. Cards that are... Like I said, it might be good, it might be bad. A lot of it depends on like how many Snapcasters they're running. Are they running the... enchantment Yeah, I forgot. They also run Crocs on their list, too. I think on the draw, we want to take out the Eidolons. And then... So, here's an interesting debate. I personally prefer to take out Boros Charm in these creature-based matchups. But I know GG tends to take out, like, Lava Spike instead. So... I'm going to continue for curve purposes doing what I do, but we'll see if the lack of a 4 damage spell costs us a game where we need to top deck exactly a particular burn spell. And kind of go from there. Yeah, most of their removal is probably going to be like Drown in the Lock, Bolt, Unholy Heat is the usual removal suite, but you know some also run Terminate, which obviously not relevant against Core Firewalker. Well, this is a hand. I do think we keep this hand. Ironically, once again, the whole argument about 2-lander or 1-lander nonsense. Alright, monkey see, monkey do. Yeah, just go ahead and Prismatic Ending this away. Like I said, they could dash another one, but that takes up like so much of their mana. Just getting our threats off the board. They obviously don't have the burn reach that we do. Yep, Ragavan, sure. So as much as I want to get Firewalker down ASAP, I think I just take this turn to Swift Spear plus Prismatic. And no, I think I actually am supposed to Bolt here because of Kroxa. I don't just want to be cold to Kroxa. Taking the advantage of surveilling. They're being a little bit more careful with their life total, which tells me they either don't have a blue card in their hand, or they have another land and didn't have another land. They had another land that time. So I think we take this opportunity to try to resolve Core Firewalker, although I think it's going to eat a Drown in the Lock, honestly. Okay, well, it survives. Unexpected. I guess they could just drown it whenever without taking the extra damage. Okay, they're definitely a shadow deck. What are they waiting to cast for? You don't just take 2 off a Watery Grave against a burn deck. So I'm not going to swing in with Core Firewalker. I really feel like there's a Snapcaster Mage in my future. And I'm going to use the Swift Spear to bait it out instead. One can't just keep not doing anything. I mean, they can, but... Yep, there's a Snapcaster Mage. Interesting. Does this tell me you have another Snapcaster Mage, or what does this tell me? You have a Death Shadow. Double Death Shadow. Alright. Okay, so they are on a Death Shadow variant. But with 2 cards in hand. Before we go to blocks, I'm going to try to do this. Our opponent has a counterspell, they have a counterspell. I'm not trying to play around it at this point. Nice. Palm's okay right now. It's not... I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's okay, but it's not, like, super fantastic. It's kind of in a weird spot. I'll be back in 1 sec. We are back. We are back. Well, it's also not completely terrible against the Murktide decks. Like, there's a lot of things Palm is okay against, but it's okay in the mirror match. You know, it's decent against Burn. But like I said, the meta is so... Meta is so weird right now because as much as Space Marine was kvetching about control decks being not part of the meta, you know, people that are dedicated control players continue to find ways to adapt. Nassif, now granted, Nassif can win with a ham sandwich, so take everything with a grain of salt. His hand's decent on the play. It's not. It's got one more land than I like ideally in my opener, but at least it's a can land. So, like, the format, I think, has settled down to the point where, what the heck? Okay, we're up against Death and Taxes. Got it. Matchup that I very much dread. Keeping a bolt. So for those of you that don't know, the card that I hate most in Magic the Gathering is the card Leonin Arbiter. And we're playing up against a Leonin Arbiter deck. Okay, well, okay, put that in the yard, I think. So, Helix this guy. Can't put both card types in the yard, so I gotta do this to be able to... Hello there. Our opponent has another 1-drop. We kind of get got by Dragon Ranch Chandler. Do I attack anyway? I think so. Lots of them having another 1-drop or low. Of course they have another 1-drop. Yeah. You live, you learn sometimes. No. Arcane is a subtype usually of instant or sorcery. Tribal counts, but I don't believe Arcane does. Okay. What's our opponent casting that... Alright. Feels like our opponent has a main deck hate card. 3 mana. Skyclave Apparition. Okay, they don't bile anything in. Sure. So Flicker Wisp would be kind of scary here, taking us off of mana for a turn cycle. Is there anything to play around here that I should think about? Don't think so. But I have no reason not to not let them pass the turn. Alright. What is Death and Taxes playing these days? This is not a deck I've been running a lot into lately, but it's a deck I loathe and would prefer to beat, so... Looks like the main card, holy crap. 6 copies of protection from red stuff? Somebody don't like losing the burn. Yeah, looking like 6 anti-red cards are coming in. Seal of Firework for what? Yeah, it's an enchantment. Might bring in Deflecting Palm. Most of these Stoneforge Mystic decks now, by the way. Yeah, so we want to bring in some amount of these guys. Roiling Vortex is also a debatable card. To prevent life gain, Eidolon goes out. Boros Charm can go out. Once again, mana standpoint, although, you know, protecting our guys could be relevant in some spots, our mana tends to be under attack from Firewalker can block the white cards. Yeah, it can. But I think that's a little hoping for a lot to go right, and I don't think it's worth it. Clearly not a matchup our sideboard is ready for. 4 lands? Don't think we can keep this hand. Back to Deflecting Palm here. Want to get rid of our fetch lands first because we don't want to get hit by Land and Arbiter. Which unfortunately, no matter how many good cards these white decks get, they still play that terrible card. Feels like they have one of the protection from... Yep. We're gonna have a hard time beating these cards with only 2, whatchamacallits in our deck. Okay. Chooses 1. Okay. I think we just pass for now. Wow. Alright. Draw a smash or something here. Actually, because of their silent clearing, we just do this and pass the turn. I was gonna say, I was about to Searing Blaze something, and then I realized that Silent Clearing could potentially deal them an extra point of damage, and if they did, they were dead, so I guess that's one way to beat protection from red things. Opponent lives up to their namesake. Okay, seems decent. This is screaming what tyrants. Alright, this looks like we're up against burn. Oh, jeez. Let me just pass with Bolt up here. Looks like we're up against the burn mirror. Eidolon? Yep, I'm glad we held the bolt. bunch of different things I could have done there. I could have done double Swiss Spear plus Mishra's Bauble. Could also be incorrect if our opponent somehow has a second idol on. Doesn't look like they do. It looks like they're just on a burn hand. Bolt on top, that's an interesting one. It's hard not to pass up that card though. I mean, there are some scenarios we could die here. They go land and have 3 more 1-drop bolts. Because no other hand's all gas. Not much of a difference between 8 and 9, but there is some difference, so kind of have to hope to get a little lucky here. Does that change the math? Was that lethal if we did it that way? I missed out on lethal, didn't I? Indeed I did. Yeah, I got too cute there. So we're probably going to die as a result. Okay. But this also shuts off their Sunbay Canyon too. So they need a Lightning Helix there. Or an untapped land. They can't. Because of Sunbay Canyon. Now, I will freely admit this. I did not take that into consideration, and I screwed up. So I got bailed out by my opponent. But, yeah, I screwed up, but because my opponent's mana, I should have gone Rift Bolt into Bolt, so I screwed up. However, Firewalkers. Alright, so we definitely want these. Eidolons on the draw can go out. Is it Boros Charms again? Feels like I might have too much anti-creature stuff in right now. hand is very, very tempting to keep. I think we will with Bolt plus potential Core Firewalker. It's been alright so far. Like, I've played quite a few leagues off stream with it, a variation of this build. It's been okay. Wait, what? Alright. Never didn't have it. A fatal push or something? Now they have Firewalker of their own. Oh, prismatic ending. Okay. Got one guy, sure. Yep. Lay up the stage too. Wow. Notably, they can't suspend Riftbolt off that. Can, however, skewer the Critic's us. Lightning Helix. Not too many combinations of stuff could kill us from here, but no reason not to hold up Helix. Yeah, we're definitely not dead from here. Now their last card in hand has to be Helix for this to be a game. I guess Deflecting Palm's also a card. The fact that they're not playing Riftbolt tells me that they have something up their sleeve, but I don't know what. I think mainly Spike's been the Aspiring Spike was the one that pushed for it. Okay, yeah, there's the DePalm. If I remember how this works, I stay at 9 regardless, and then they're just dead. So. Fortunately, we just have the kill rolled up. Alright, I hate to hold you all in suspense, but family just came home, so I gotta see what's going on with them before I try to go for the 5-0 here. Alright, it's going to be close, but I should have time to finish the last match. Alright, let's get this show on the road. Sounds pretty good. Keep. Yeah. Just had a bowl of cereal. Or did I? Turn 1 Seachrome Coast. What the heck? Or Glacial Fortress. So blue light control. Suspend that because of okay. Nice. So these blue light controls have been more on these like Spreading Seas Chalice builds lately. Don't like bringing in Prismatic Ending, but might be a necessary evil. Eidolon. Down to Riftbolt. Feels like a pretty decent place to be. I could have Sanctifier and Beck and such, so we gotta be mindful of that card. His hand is very slow and very not enough. Too many lands. His hand's fine. Back Lightning Helix. So unfortunately, as much as I want to hold this Bauble for next turn, I do need to try to hit land drops, so... They're drawing Archmage's Charm, which is admittedly annoying. Lose this game because we don't have another land drop. That's probably going to steal one of our creatures before combat next turn. Go to combat, force them to steal something. Didn't steal anything, that's interesting. So what did they do at the end step here? Interesting time to steal Darcy, I suppose. I think you'd want Verdict in this spot. Of course we get got by stupid. Fairy Time Raveler, Riftbolt combo. Or should I say non-bow? Let me see, which one of my 5 ways to deal with the creature do I deal with it? Oh, I figured it out! Sorry, these are where blue-white mages really annoy me. "12 ways to deal with a creature," and we... Fact or fiction? Sure. Land, please. counterspell, right? Sure. Interesting. Figured you'd bounce Roiling Vortex. Or you just have another Teferi. You don't have a choice, friend. It has to attack. If they steal this, we're just dead next turn. You have to attack. I know you control mages aren't used to that, but you have to attack with that creature. I mean, we're dead next turn regardless, so... Let's play first. This hand isn't great, but I do think we keep it. Last turn. We Boros turn one end step. Probably tap out for like Teferi or Chalice something next turn. Don't have Force of Negation. Nice. Got the 5-0 with the burn deck. Nice, nice, nice. So, don't think this build's perfect by any means, but still nice to get the 5-0. So, don't really have a lot more to say than that. I mean, still working on some slots. Would prefer to have more prismatic endings on the board, just from the sheer number of anti-red cards starting to show up. Vortex did some work there. Smashes play against a lot of artifact decks. Eidolon, this slot's one of the ones that I could see being the third prismatic ending. Firewalkers pulled their weight in the burn mirror. Build seemed reasonable, but beyond that, hard to argue with the 5-0, you know? So, nice to get the win here. Anyways, gonna be eating dinner here soon, so thanks for everybody for hanging out. Sea Dog, Kalino, War Dog, O'Doyle, everybody else that's still maybe hanging out, Arturo, etc., Kenneth. So hopefully all my goings away didn't scare too many of you away, but hope you all have a great evening, and there'll probably be more content dropping tonight once I start getting some of these other leagues uploaded and stuff. So anyways, got the 5-0. This has been John for MTG Nexus. See ya.